and welcome to the series on midlife and beyond. So, hopefully, you were able to tune into the introduction on midlife and a little bit about the program and why I'm doing it, as well as the different levels. That's what I can't see. Different levels where you might be at as to what will work for you. So I'm going to cover a little bit. This is like part two on empowering men and women over 50 navigating life's journey with purpose and vitality. So, as we know, life after 50 can be a transformative period for women and men, filled with new possibilities, challenges, and opportunities for growth. And as we navigate this stage, finding purpose, prioritizing well-being, and engaging in fulfilling activities, embracing new experiences becomes paramount. So, in this more comprehensive sort of aspect on midlife, I'm going to delve into some of the key areas that are essential if you're in that phase 40, 50, 60. So I'll look at some of the research and provide actionable tips and advice to support and inspire you to lead a vibrant and fulfilling life. I've also got the 30-day program. So if you want to do that on level 1 or level 2, just look at my playlist, because that's something that you can do every day that takes about half an hour to put actions in place involving journaling, reflection, mental health and well-being. So it's important to understand what life can be like for women over 50 and making positive changes to health and well-being. But we've got so many things that we have to sort of navigate, as in sort of how we got here and what life has led us to and what our relationships are like and whether or not we had children and where they're at in their stages, what commitments we've still got and the roles that we play. So that will be different for everybody, let alone navigating perimenopause and menopause and diabetes and potential heart issues and things that run through our DNA. So this is just really touching on many different aspects, and I will put links to podcasts that I think are really good and credible, as well as books. So this is about helping you think about that and some of the research. So the research indicates, just checking, it looks like my battery's going to go soon. So research indicates that women over 50 experience significant life transitions, the menopausal stage, along with the potential changes in the family dynamics and work commitments, can lead to a reassessment of one's identity and purpose. And I talked a bit about that in the intro video, that often we're starting to reflect on the past 20 or 30 years. Where are we? How did we get here? What's worked? What hasn't? What's our financial picture look like? We're starting to feel that we're getting closer to being able to retire or are retiring. And while some of us embrace those changes as a liberating phase, others might find themselves facing challenges such as health concerns, caregiving responsibilities, or career shifts. And as I said in the intro video, I think I'd actually turned 50 when all the issues in my career started to implode and explode. And where I really was having to make myself, I think it would have happened anyway, but rather than waiting for whatever to hit the fan, I'm starting to see what was approaching the fan and where I might need to pivot and move somewhere else. But I didn't know what that was going to look like. I just had to make a decision. And sometimes that's all it starts with, is making a decision of, right, this isn't working. I've had enough. I need a shift and a change. And I'm deciding now to move forward. And we tell the universe, we're ready now for new changes, new opportunities, and things coming our way that are going to support us in this next phase of our life. So even though that's going on, we still need a toolbox, whether we're moving through there, we feel vitality, we're excited, we're looking forward to it, or things are unraveling, unfolding, or even the spanners hit the wheel and everything has ground to a halt. Because things like losing a partner, an in-law, a parent, children moving away to university, the things that are happening in the system, job losses, all of that will add to this stress of, especially as we're told it's harder to get a job, no one wants to employ anyone that's older, and everything else is fading, like our hair, our skin, and all that stuff. So I'm not going to focus on that because, I dye my hair, there's a bit of grey coming through. I'm happy with that. That works for me. I wear the clothes that I wear, they work for me, whether I'm in the office or at home. I'm kind of who I am in most settings. But of course, we have what's called a Johari's window, which is 1/4 of a window, is what everybody knows about us. So I'm online. So, of course, people know a lot about me from being online. Then we have a part of the window that only our friends and family know about us. And then we have a part of the window only our intimate relationships know about us. Then we have this other part of the window, the fourth aspect, where nobody knows those things about us. And often that's what we get to hear if we're a priest or a therapist, where we're talking about the things that we're scared that if other people knew about it, they would judge us or our life could change exponentially. And there's been reasons for that in society because certain things could get you into trouble or, end a relationship. All sorts of different fears that we have about that. And sometimes as we get more time on our hands, it's also as we get into midlife, aspects of our shadow also come up. We can go through this real spiritual journey of having to face the things we've done, the regrets we've got, the choices we didn't make, things we want to rectify, things we can't and we have to leave and let go of. And so those shadow elements, Carl Jung talks about it a lot. I've been listening to some videos, podcasts, no videos on YouTube that looks at those phases and why it's important to experience what you're experiencing using tools of validating that, honoring that, and seeing that that's part of your experience of being a human. No one gets it right all the time and a lot of the time, and we will get some things right, but that's open for interpretation as well. So one of the essential aspects is about also finding meaning and purpose in life. We find that people who do better with their mental health and well-being also have created something that helps them find that purpose and meaning. And when people are depressed, often things feel meaningless, purposeless, no motivation, no spark. So when I worked with the Human Givens Institute, they were very good at working with people who are at that level of real stuckness and depression. And if you've been like that for more than a few weeks, but certainly 3 months, you really need to look at getting some help, because the longer you leave something, the more of those unhelpful behaviors and traits embed. And once you've lost your fitness, it's harder when you go back in the gym to reclaim that. So rest is essential, sleep is essential, nutrients is essential, good relationships is. So we need to look at all those different aspects to see where there's a malfunction and it needs improving. So that's really important for our physical and mental health to increases our life satisfaction, and we'll have a higher quality of life. But as I talked about in the intro, we can go through these cycles. And so we can go through these cycles where we've got a lot of energy, we want to be out and about with people. And I'm hearing this a lot now. And you've had that time, and then you come back and you want to hibernate for maybe 3 days or a week. And you don't want to deal with lots of conversations and you want to have some downtime. And some people question that. Is there something wrong with me? I'm depressed. Is it my mental health? No, it's just that our energy can go in these cycles. We can't be all this or all that. So we've kind of got to learn who we are and maybe who we're becoming. Because my patterns, habits, and cycles have definitely changed since 2016. They've definitely changed since 2019 and 2020 when I did my yoga and meditation teacher training. And they've changed since last year. So doing a regular audit and review can really work wonders for keep checking in on yourself and what's working, whether you do that yourself or in a group. So think about what activities bring you joy and fulfillment. And if there's a cause or mission contained within you, and if there isn't anything you can think of, you've now got to see the next phase as experimental. So if you're low on money, go to meetup groups, go to museums, art galleries. Just get out and explore. And then notice how you feel when you do that. Do you feel more uplifted? Did you feel inspired? I was in Whitby, I think it was the end of September, in my camper van, and I stayed there on a campsite for 3 days. I absolutely adored Whitby, and I decided to go to the local museum, and I'm really glad I did. It was fascinating. It had so many odd and obscure things that are local to Whitby that you wouldn't find in other museums. And they all told stories. And there was a guide who was a guide showing people around and taking them to the different exhibits. And you could spend a week there learning about those things. But it was, like the shipping bottles and people who'd made ships out of bone. And it was prisoners who'd used the bone left over from their meals that was carving that and making ships. And then at the end of, I don't know if it was the First or Second World War, when they were released, they didn't want to go back home to France. They stayed here. They were making more money. So they literally carved a life out for themselves doing that. But by going to that museum, I was really like, just entertained and perplexed, and it was interesting. I was like, wow. And I got those layers of history. And then when I'm walking around seeing the shops, I could see that history on the buildings. And as I was walking down the coast, because Whitby's known for jets, and you can stumble across jet on the coast. So you set some goals and intentions at your starting point. Okay, your starting point is, where am I right now? You haven't got a lot of money, you haven't got energy, just do 1 or 2 things a week. And then if something changes, how do you reconnect with something that can just feel experimental? Experiment with it, give it a go, play football, go to the gym, go swimming, and just monitor how you feel afterwards. And if you feel uplifted, inspired, and you feel good, then that usually means that that's something that's good for you, at least at the moment. And then even think about lifelong learning, as a process that we can pursue new skills. So for me to get on Zoom and then record and go on YouTube has required me to try and figure out the platform, how to do a video. I learned how to edit. I could only do the beginning and the end of a video for ages. And then I learned how to cut in between. I learned how to add music. And so what was great is I never thought I was going to be able to even do any of that. But I found a program that was actually, for me, worked with my brain, was easy to do. Now, they're not perfect, but I enjoy the process. And that's what I discovered in the process of doing this, was that I enjoy the process. So there wasn't just going out in my camper van and exploring and meeting new people, which I love. I was also documenting some of that, bringing it back, and then turning it into a video where there wasn't any words, adding some music, and enjoy that process of putting that up. So a lot of me getting into my midlife has been finding these things. Like, I got into photography around 2016. I brought a proper camera at the end of 2016, 2017. Started trying to learn the tech of a Canon camera. Started taking pictures. Then I bought the Adobe program. And really enjoyed the editing process. I started putting some of them forward for competitions. And then I learned how to use Canva because I was going to events, and I learned how to, and I didn't enjoy messing around with all that stuff that you have to do to make a leaflet. So I got a graphic designer to help me do that. She did templates, and all I had to do was add the updated information, send them across to Vistaprint. They'd print them off, get them, and I was like, wow, this is brilliant. Did the same acrylics. So my creativity had grown as a result of me. Probably 2016, starting out, my son gave me his tablet and I started taking some pictures, and then realised its limitations when I was trying to track windsurfers. So it was amazing for what I wanted it to, like street photography, and I could see it. The old cameras, you couldn't see really what you was taking a picture of. And this was starting to open up in a way that I never would have anticipated. I didn't know I was ever going to be going on Zoom, because I don't think anyone was using. We were using telephone conferencing in one of my last jobs, but we weren't using video. I think some of the top companies were probably using video, and that had all sorts of problems with it. These things hadn't probably been invented. So you start with one step, you get curious. Oh, what would I like to try? Learn a language in 6 weeks, get Duolingo, go on Udemy or Coursera, one of the platforms. I did a few photography courses because I was really trying to wrap my head around the technical side of how to mix light with what I wanted to do. This is then about prioritizing you, nurturing your body and mind. And so health and well-being is crucial for us, especially as we get over 50. And if we're not active, not going to the gym, we may start to see that manifest in health issues. Of course, we've got things that are in our DNA that can start to come forward later in life. And so people, you want to try and be preventative health rather than waiting until something happens. And so the research definitely highlights, we all know, so I don't want to teach you all how to suck eggs, is the importance of regular exercise. So when I'm at home, I tend to do less walking, so I have to go to the gym or swimming. But when I'm away in the camper van, I do a lot more walking. And some of the places I've been to, it's incline walking, which has really challenged my body to get even fitter. But of course, many of us notice that we might get to a certain level of fitness. I come home, I could be sick for 2 weeks, and then I've got to not quite start at the beginning. I've still got the flexibility I've got through doing yoga, but I might have to build it back up again in terms of what I can walk, I can do, and how my body might feel about that. So we need adequate sleep is imperative in mental health, adequate sleep. I've noticed the last few nights by about 9 o'clock, which is unusual. And I don't even like going to bed at that time because my brain was normally switched on till about 12. But I've just been going with it. I go to bed at 9 and now I'm waking up at 4 or 5 o'clock again. I'm like, how many hours sleep have I had? But clearly my body needs some rest at the moment because I've been going through deep cycles. So I've been purging and processing lots of deep stuff that are now turning into stuff I'm going to record for the videos. So we need that process sometimes, that downtime. So sleep, incredibly important. I might go back to going to sleep at 12 and getting up at, 7 or 8, sometimes 9. I don't like getting up really any later than that. So we need to do the things like walk, swim. Yoga's great for flexibility, and Pilates for strength. But do make sure if you go to any of those classes that you have an experienced yoga teacher who understands hip mobility, back problems, neck problems. I've got to be careful now because I've overstrained my neck. So we need to know where our body's at. We need to do a bit of an MOT on that. So it can provide the opportunity. Some space can open up. I certainly know my space opened up when the kids were in school full time, but they were getting older and starting to leave school. I didn't have to be at home every day doing everything, making sure they were okay. And when they went to university and the other one moved out, of course, time opened up. Now I've got every evening to myself and every weekend. And so I could start to go to social events and not worry about, I could go and stay with friends and not have to get babysitters and things like that. So that comes in its own natural way, in a way. But if we can forward think where we are now, if we're not at that place and we've got 14, 15-year-olds, we need to put some things in place so that by the time they get to that age and they're going to university, we've got some things in motion. We've got people we can connect with. Because often we make friends because the kids are small and we meet them in nursery and keep friends in that way. But as we get older, we might want to join new groups, new hobbies, go for walks. There's quite a few groups, rambling groups being set up around here, and lots of women getting together to go for walks. So it's quite nice to join those new things, and that really does contribute to your own well-being. So like I said, join clubs, classes, meet up, even rediscover old hobbies, or go for volunteering. So the research showed that yoga meditation has numerous physical, mental, and emotional benefits. One is you learn how to bring your stress levels down much quicker. You can start to regulate in a better way, become less reactive, more observant, unlikely to allow, especially if you do the mantra type meditations and where you're just practicing on one thing, anything else that's rolling around in your head, like your shopping list, then you have to be mindful of that. So, and they're the things that are hard to get rid of, regardless how long you do yoga. And that's what a lot of people struggle with. But you can change that. And then it's about doing things like spiritual pursuits, nourishing the soul. Spiritual pursuits can help you with that sense of connectedness, regardless of whether it's religion or you're going to spiritual events, mind, body, and spirit events, or there's somebody in your area that's running a weekly get together in some way that involves, I don't know, crystals, meditation, sound healing, and going to do walks in nature, forest bathing. I know a guy that does that in the Richmond area, and I did one of his sessions once, and it was really nice doing meditation in the forest just being amongst the trees. It was gorgeous. And so that's about starting to recognize how we nurture our soul, not just our mind and mental health. And then it's about how we feel about and embrace change and growth. So this is about reassessing your own beliefs and values. And I've got an exercise that you can do with that to help you really think about what they are. Sometimes we're surprised when we do an activity like that because they kind of change and we didn't realize that they did. And then think about any of the limiting beliefs you might have about your identity, your role, about what's happening to you. Again, these aren't always the easy things to do on your own. They're good if you are in a coaching group or get some coaching. And especially if you're feeling stuck, that's sometimes where it's worth asking someone to support you. And then thinking about things in terms of growth mindset. Where can I go? What do I want to grow? What pockets of time have I got? So say, for example, this you've created for your week, that's 7 till 9, 9 till 12, 12 till 5, and then 5 afterwards. Because I always look at the day in segments, because the morning is normally where I put in the yoga. Some mornings is where I do recordings. Midday is where I might see clients, and evenings I see clients, and then I've got my other projects. So you've got to look at filling that in with your current commitments of what you are committed to, like for the next month. And say that most of that is filled out, but you've just got 1 or 2 slots, then decide which of these things that I'm talking about are going to go in that slot. You can change it, reevaluate it. You might say once a week, every Tuesday morning, or if the sun's out or it's not raining, I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to go to the museum, or I'm going to go and explore, I'm going to call up a friend. So it depends on what you want to focus on, but it's how you look at reconstructing time and elongating time. And then when you start to do that small segment at a time, that can have a massive effect on how you feel about everything else. Because if you don't give yourself that and you start to feel frustrated or cynical, then that's because you're not serving what you need for yourself. And that can be a number of things. So, like I said, some of the people have joined my coaching group, and so we go through that journey together, and they share ideas and try out new things and come back and share what that's like. But sometimes that means coming out of the known, our territory, our comfort and safety zone. And comfort and safety is important. Slowing down the nervous system and re-regulating and having rest and relaxation is incredibly important, especially as we live in a busy world. But we shouldn't just only have that. We need to have a little bit of stepping outside our comfort zone. The brain likes novelty. It can get bored easy, but if you push it too far, you've got this is your safety zone of everything you do every day that you don't have to really think about and you're not anxious. You do something slightly out of that might create a little bit of anxiety, like not going to the local shop, but getting on the bus and going to a new area. Will the bus be late? Is it going to rain? How do I feel? I might have to talk to people. It's a social event. Then we'll have things that sit further outside of that we've been asked to do. Join a meetup group, go to the gym, get an instructor. And as we step further outside our comfort zone, we'll start to feel some anxiety. And anxiety is sometimes a sign that our body is just aware that there's something different. But just because we feel it doesn't mean to say we should avoid it. In fact, no, we should do it and then work out, how did it feel afterwards? And sometimes when we step outside our comfort zone, we come back and we go, yeah, it took me months. I heard this from women when I was running a meetup group. I ran it for, I think it was 2 years, 3 years. There was a group of us that ran it, and we used to do various events like theatre, breakfast at the cafe, cinema, walks, all sorts of different things, pub nights. And new people used to come, and I'd always go over and chat to them because I know how difficult it is sometimes to get out there and join in something. And they'd say, oh, I wanted to do this for mums, but I was just anxious and, all this mental mindset. And it was a shame because they'd wasted so much time and they'd really enjoyed it when they came. They made friends. Quite a few of them are still doing a lot of things together. And so that was just beautiful for me to witness. I love seeing that. So if you're at home on your own and you're working at home, it's not a great recipe for a healthy, happy, vibrant, joyful life and cake. Think about the ingredients that you need for your best life, like your best cake. So this is about connecting with that and looking at what's going to be fulfilling and embracing for you, and what your current responsibilities and things that you're signed up to are, that you plot out in your. I make these a box for every hour, so I haven't filled it in yet, but yeah, I've got a pen. Yes, I'm always losing pens. So say it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So say that's in the free segments, and you've got time in the morning so you can go for a walk, do yoga. If you've got smaller kids, you're getting them to school and you're going to work. If you're working from home, you sometimes have an hour in which you can do some stretching, have a coffee. Then you have a look. If you're working full time, this is all taken, as we know, from 9 till 5. But if you work part time, you might have a Friday off. So, what hour or 2 hours or morning or afternoon, or even one night a week for meetup? And you start to see how the different things that you want can fit into those segments of your life. So, the things that I put here are the goals that I have. So this is some of the work I'm doing for YouTube and some of the other platforms. And then I might think of some of the admin tasks, and then I might have home tasks that I've got there. And that just gives me a focus and helps me, like I said, manage that time. So it's crucial for your well-being to even just to reflect on where you're at, what you want, where you're in your safety zone, and whether or not you need to step outside of that, and what's stopping you, and what would it be like if you did some of those things. Imagine how much vitality, happiness, and joy you can feel when you've gone along to something and just really enjoyed connecting with people. Again, at the meetup groups that I was running, what I used to do, people have a habit of just talking to the same person all night. So I used to play these games and swap people around about every half an hour. Like everyone who's, I don't know, give them a number, all the twos join and then all the threes join, and just move it about. And people enjoyed that because it took the responsibility off them to do the awkward thing, which is, right, okay, I'm going to go and talk to someone else now, feeling that you're leaving the other one in limbo or stood on our own. So hopefully this has got you thinking a little bit, and you've listened to the introduction, and I will be releasing the first 3 sort of intro sessions really to the 12-week program that I'm going to be recording. And like I said, like and subscribe, press about. It helps my algorithms. In what way, I'm not sure, but it helps them. Helps the channel, helps me sort of see that, someone's getting some value out of this. If I can help one person feel happier about entering midlife, then I've done my job. My reason for existence is done. Though it isn't, I'll probably continue. But yeah, press the bell so you get the notifications. If you want to work with me separately, there'll be a link below, or you can email me, melgbb555@hotmail.com, and put in the subject bar new connection, and then we can arrange a call, see what you're looking for, because I do a one-off sort of 2-hour intense session. I do the Kickstart sessions, which is 3 sessions. I do a 6 and 12-week program. I rarely sign anyone up for ever, so I try and make this work so that it fits the needs of you at different stages of your life. So thank you for watching. Leave a message if you're inclined. And yeah, I look forward to working with you.